The Book of Us, Attraction, by Vivid Universe on AO3.
Read by Cobalt.
Chapter 1, Gravity. Gravity. Noun. Physics. The force that attracts a body towards the Earth, or towards any other body having mass. This exact moment could be something we go back to. Could be a page for us. Time of our life, day 6. How long do you think she's gonna last? Like, 3 days tops. Shiraishi wishes her best friends didn't exist right now. She hauls some boxes inside her brand new apartment as her 2 childhood best friends and freshman year roommates, Mizuki Akiyama and Haruka Kiritani, follow her. With Mizuki and Haruka never ceasing to clown on behind her back, albeit lovingly, as she steps over the threshold, she silently thanks the lords above that she will finally be living alone. I'm going to last more than 3 days, Mizuki, An retorts as she sets her box down on the floor of what will soon be her new living room. Aw, Mizuki pouts, sticking out their bottom lip like a child who just got denied access to candy. Are you sure? Are you sure you won't get all lonely after 3 days and then come back to our apartment going, Mizuki, Haruka, take me back? Okay, in Mizuki's defense, they aren't entirely wrong. An's college life revolved around them and Haruka, and now she felt like she was slowly going to leave the orbit the 3 of them spent a year creating. It's a scary thing to leave the ones you love, really, but An can't really admit that out loud, so she forces on a reassuring smile. She's done this before when she first moved into college. She can do it again. So, instead of worrying her friends, she chuckles in return. All right, I'll miss you guys a lot. But you know this is better for me, especially with that new internship at Radar Labels. This is just closer to the job. But you're leaving us! Mizuki swoons dramatically and Haruka rolls her eyes. Okay, kiddo, wrap it up. I'm older than you. Did I stutter? Haruka responds sassily. We still have a couple more boxes to bring upstairs. You guys go ahead, An nods. I'll catch up. With that, Mizuki gets dragged out of the room by Haruka, and An has some moments to herself. She takes a second to look around what will soon be her new home, and she inhales slowly before exhaling and smiling. While she is terrified that she's going to be living on her own for the first time in her life, she also can't wait for the possibilities to come. Maybe she'd make new friends around the building that were her age, and she could hang out with them after classes before she had to go to work. Maybe she'd meet a mysterious, hot stranger that... Okay, that's enough for the hopeless romantic, An. An shakes her head, snapping out of her daydreaming, and she realizes that before all that can happen, she has to move her furniture into her house. So she smiles and says, Welcome home, An. With that, she heads out and follows her friends. Eventually, An finds herself collapsing on her newly assembled couch. With Mizuki and Haruka's help, they spent the entire day unpacking, assembling furniture, and decorating An's apartment until she felt like she could smell her dad's pancakes. Thank you, Yankee Candle. And could almost hear the music playing through her childhood home. Almost. It was now 7 in the evening, and An was tired, scrolling through her feeds as she tried to break in her new ridiculously teal couch. Ultimately, she decides that instead of moping on her couch, she should get a little pumped and attempt to cook some dinner. So she pulls out one of her dad's vinyls that he made of his old band and hooks it up into her brand new vinyl player that Haruka gave her as a housewarming gift. Turning up the volume to max, she walks over to the kitchen and begins to pull out some vegetables. As she sings along, her heart finally settles. Now, with a little song in her heart, her new, somewhat empty apartment finally feels a little like home. Akito Shinonome hates it when his naps are interrupted. Like, hates it with burning passion hates it. He hates it in the sense that he would not hesitate to threaten to yeet someone to the sun if he is oh so rudely awakened during the rare occasion he gets to nap. No one will be spared from his post-nap grouchiness, not even his sister. That brings us to here. It's one of the slower days, ones where Akito is bored beyond his mind. It's the day where Akito decides that the best form of entertainment would be his own dreams. And so, he drifts off on his couch, taking what he could say is one of the best naps of his life. He's dreaming about being the greatest in the world at something. He doesn't really know what. He never really knew what. when this corny-ass Imagine Dragon-sounding song begins to play in his dream. It gets louder and louder, and Dream Akito is irritated at how annoying this song is. He can't even decipher the lyrics. He thinks it's something about Caucasians and their destinations, but really, he just wants the song to stop. The dream fades away as Akito slowly opens his eyes and regains his lucidity, realizing this corny-ass Imagine Dragon-sounding song was not coming from his dream, but rather from the next door. "Whom's the fuck?" he mutters groggily as he sits up, rubbing his eyes. It's not a question, it's a statement. Whom's the fuck? He also had a flurry of questions running through his brain, such as, whom's the fuck is playing that song, and why is their music taste trash? Since when did I have a neighbor? And why are they choosing now to be annoying? And, in Nagauchi days, Akito marches out of his apartment, ready to give his, apparently new, neighbor a piece of his mind. An is in the middle of making her trademarked banger ramen, or at least that's what she likes to call it, when she hears a knocking on her door. Scratch that, it doesn't sound like knocking. She hears pounding on her door, banging even. For a second, she thinks she did something wrong, that the cops are here to get her, before she realizes how clean her record is and lets out a sigh of relief. She walks over to the door, wondering who's behind it. Maybe it was a mysterious, handsome stranger neighbor. Stop being delusional, An. She opens the door, and there is indeed this handsome stranger standing in front of her door. Her jaw drops. Like, objectively speaking, without An's hopeless romantic getting in the way, this guy was pretty. While he dressed like he just came out from a year in his parents' basement, he had pretty fluffy orange hair with blonde highlights and piercing green eyes. Oh, and don't get on started on the piercings. The sunlight coming in from the hallway windows hit him at just the right angle, causing his piercings to sparkle. She was sparkle-struck. "Hi," she says softly, trying to sound cool. Hi," the stranger replies awkwardly. An decides she should get to know this guy, and so she decides to introduce herself. "Hi," she repeats, before she realizes she already said that. She ignores the way she internally yells at herself and presses on. "I'm An Shiraishi. I'm a second-year music major at Sekai University." She holds out her hand, rendering the stranger speechless. I'm not really here to introduce myself," he stammers, and An interrupts. "And you are?" Her neighbor sighs as he shakes her hand. "I'm Akito Shinonome, undeclared second year at Sekai University. I live next door." Oh my god! It's a handsome stranger neighbor! She thinks internally before telling her mind to shut the fuck up. But objectively, Akito was checking all the boxes for her. "Nice to meet you," An nods, once again trying to look cool, but looking more like a cat that just got sprayed with water. She quickly recovers. "So, what brings you here, new neighbor? Want to enjoy some ramen with me?" Akito replies eloquently. "No, not really. I was just going to ask." What could he want? Maybe he wanted to ask her to grab coffee tomorrow? To grab lunch and get acquainted, perhaps? "Your music. Down," Akito finishes, and An realizes she tuned out. "Huh?" she replies, oh so smoothly. Akito sighs before yawning. "Turn your music down, please. I was trying to take a nap." "Oh. Well, this is embarrassing." "Sure thing, neighbor. Have a nice day. See you later." An rushes out as she slams the door in his face. She presses her back against it, sliding down until her butt hits the floor. She fans her cheeks, which were now red out of first-hand embarrassment, before she realizes her music is still playing. Right, the music. She found herself darting across the room and switching off her music before sighing. Now she just hopes she'll never have to see her neighbor again. Meanwhile, Akito stands in front of An's door, bewildered. He hears the music die down and he mutters, confused, "Thank you?" "No way!" Mizuki guffaws into the receiver as An finishes recounting her disaster encounter of her neighbor. "Okay, lower your volume," An mutters, exasperatedly. Even though she knew wholeheartedly before even starting this group call that Mizuki and Haruka wouldn't give her the time of day if she told them about it. That's... Haruka begins softly, trying to let On down gently, but being unable to find the way to do so. Nope, I can't even with this one. That's just embarrassing. To Lulu, Mizuki adds, and On hisses, Shut up! It's okay. I just have to hope I never run into him again in the elevator when I'm off to class or to my internship. Haruka chuckles. And, knowing your luck, it's not happening, Haruka Jade Kiritani. Are we clear on that? On repeats before shoveling ramen into her mouth. Haruka's middle name is Jane? Mizuki asks, and Haruka chuckles. No, it's not. And my statement still stands. On swallows and repeats. It's not happening! I will be the queen of stealth. Just watch me! This could not be happening. Okay, maybe some context is needed before we drop that bomb of a statement. Let's set the scene. It's On's first day of her internship at Radar Labels, a couple of days after the embarrassing delusional debacle that shan't be named, or so she liked to call it. So, she gets up 5 minutes before her alarm rings at 6:55 in the morning. Surprisingly, usually Mizuki had to splash water on On's face to get her out of bed, which resulted in a fight that only Haruka could break. And she puts on her best business attire, a blazer over a white button-up with dress pants and heels. The first thing she learns is that she fucking hates walking in heels. Holy shit! And that once she got off the shift today, she was going to the nearest shoe store and get some flats. Anyway, that's not the point. She makes herself a hearty breakfast of scrambled eggs and toast next before heading out the door, excited for her first day on the job. She then heads out the door, and here's where the shit show begins. She gets into the elevator, ready to head down, when she hears a frantic, Wait! Hold it open! On isn't an asshole, so she presses the open door button, and once the desperate stranger comes in her field of view, she instantly regrets it.
Before her, Akito stood, also in formal attire. He nods coolly, greeting her. Hey, thanks for holding it open. Sure thing, An exclaims as he gets into the elevator and stands next to her. Meanwhile, she internally screams, What the fuck is he doing here? Headed to work? Akito asks, trying to make small talk, but An is trying so hard to forget the fact that she made a complete fool of herself a couple days before, that she doesn't register what he's saying. What? She repeats dumbly, and Akito chuckles. He chuckles at her. God damn it. You zone out a lot, don't you? Well, yeah, I'm having an internal crisis because I made a fool of myself in front of you, An thinks, as she replies, Oh yeah, silly me. I was asking if you were headed to work or something, Akito repeats, seeming less annoyed than he did on the day they first met. An nods and answers sheepishly. Yep, starting an internship today. Oh, really? Akito raises his brows in interest. Me too. Cool, An nods. Where? Radar Labels. Bruh, An thinks to herself. I have the worst luck in the world. Oh, really? An nods. Me too. Nice. Akito nods. And then the awkward silence fills the air for the rest of the elevator ride as An internally dies. She doesn't even know why she's having an internal crisis, because Akito didn't bring up the embarrassing delusional debacle that shan't be named. But it was awkward, and she feels like it's because of her interactions with him that it was like that way. Or maybe he's just shit at conversations, she thinks to herself. Either way, she didn't like the awkward silence at all. When the elevator reaches the ground floor, after what seems like an eternity, the two of them walk out of the apartment complex before An begins walking down the road. Hey, wait, Akito calls. Shiraishi. An stops and turns to look at Akito. The office building is this way, Akito says pointedly, as he points in the other direction from where An is walking. I'm taking the bus, An nods curtly. Thanks, though. And so, An continues on her way to the nearest bus stop, shuddering while recounting how awkward things are between her and her neighbor. Worst of all, she would have to keep seeing him at work. Life is great. That was sarcastic. Akito stands dumbly, watching her walk away before he mutters to himself, "Okay, am I doing something wrong or something?" Group chat, An left us. 3 online. An-chan, guys, send help. This is a cry for help. Oh my fucking god. Mizuki, let me guess. He's somehow in the same internship as you. An-chan, I will beat you up, Mizuki Jaden Akiyama. Haru, Mizuki's middle name is Jaden?
An-chan, no, but backread.
Haru, oh lord, good luck, An. An-chan, thank you, Haruka. Mizuki, the discrimination is real. An-chan, shut the fuck up.
Ever since An was a kid and watched her dad get signed onto radar labels, she dreamed of being able to set foot into the building that managed the musical legends that inspired her. When she found out that they were hiring a talented college student to run their social media accounts, she immediately applied. The interviewers loved her and her amazing positive energy, or so she likes to think, and they hired her on the spot. So, needless to say, she was internally fangirling as she admired how luxurious the lobby of the building was. This is her dream. Correction, this is her dream. Coming to life. Crystal chandeliers were affixed from the ceiling, sparkling brightly, and An wanted to reach out to them just like she reached for her dreams, just to see what they felt like. But then she would be considered weird, so she brushed the thought away as she kept looking around like a kid in a candy store. It's nice, isn't it? A feminine voice snaps her out of her thoughts, and An jumps, only to find the receptionist standing next to her. Oh, thank goodness it wasn't Akito. How could it be Akito? It was a girl's voice. An internally face-plants at her stupidity. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. The receptionist giggles as An gets the chance to take a proper look at her. The receptionist's hair was dirty blonde and tied into 2 twin braids, and she had wide, doe-like eyes. She looked around An's age, so An was wondering if she was also an intern. You must be An, the receptionist starts. The new social media intern? Yep. An nods. That's me. Cool. The receptionist grins, and she goes behind her desk. My name's Kohane Azusawa. I'm also a college student at SEKAI University. An guessed right then. Really? What major? Physics? Oh my goodness. An laughs harmlessly. What are you doing here? Just making some easy money. Kohane smiles in return as she hands An a badge. I'm planning to quit once the physics research lab opens in the spring. Well, An nods. It's been nice to meet you anyway, Kohane. Likewise, Kohane replies. That badge is your ID. Gives you unlimited access to the building and gives you unlimited access to the cafeteria food. Let me know if you need anything. Thank you. See you later, Kohane nods in response as An makes her way into the office area of the building. An spends the entire morning learning the ropes of her new job as a manager before she clocks out for the afternoon, wishing Kohane a nice day. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, she had afternoon classes, so she found her way back to her apartment to change into something more comfortable before heading to her classes. She's just exiting her apartment, thinking about how fortunate she is that she didn't run into Akito on her first day, because she's certain she would have made a fool of herself when she rams into somebody, nearly toppling them both over. An's phone clattering to the ground is the only sound to fill the air during the collision, along with muffled oofs. An apologizes sheepishly as she picks up her phone and dusts herself off. And then she looks up. And of course Akito is staring back at her like he was a deer trapped in headlights. He seems to regain his composure quickly as he stops staring and nods at her as he dusts himself off. Sorry, I wasn't looking where I was going. No, same here, An replies. My bad. No hard feelings. Akito nods with a small smile. Are you headed out? Yeah, I have class. An nods. Me too, Akito replies. An internally screams once more.
However, a small part of her is telling her that she should stop moping over the metaphorical milk that she spilled days before and start anew, because for some reason she keeps ending up running into Akito like they were two planets bound by gravity destined to collide. So she takes a deep breath and asks, "Do you want to head there together?" "Oh," Akito replies, dumbstruck. Sure. Why not?" "Cool." An smiles awkwardly as she begins to walk towards the elevator. Akito pauses for a second, watching her go before realizing that he also has to go, so he catches up to her. On the way up to the campus, An finds herself learning that Akito is also from Shibuya, just like her. The commonality, other than the elephant in the room that was their shared workplace, which both of them refused to bring up, allowed An to ease her nerves while talking to him, as she goes off on tangents about how much she loves home. Akito merely listens, and nods, and makes her feel kind of seen. Maybe he was a bit socially awkward, but it didn't seem like he hated her. Now this, I could get used to, she thinks as Akito drops her off at the music building before heading over to the fine arts building. She waves him goodbye, and he waves back before heading on his way. She could definitely get used to this. Mizuki and Haruka are waiting at An's door when she gets back from class, and her jaw drops. "What the hell are you both doing here?" "I miss you." Mizuki swoons dramatically, and Haruka stoically catches them. "We miss you," Haruka corrects. "So, Mizuki suggested that we come over, put on a good movie, and order takeout." "I have class tomorrow morning, though," An replies. "I didn't come all the way to take that as an answer," Mizuki replies. "Please, An-chan, please, 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 please." "Fine," An relents. She could really never say no to Mizuki anyway. "But if I end up missing class tomorrow, I'm blaming you. Also, don't call me An-chan." Mizuki laughs. "I have the most notorious attendance record on campus. Do you think I care?" "That's not something to brag about, Mizuki." Haruka sighs as An opens the door and invites them in. She supposes she doesn't really mind the company. Sure, she's exhausted, but it also gets extra lonely at night, and these two made her bare an apartment feel more like a full home. So the three of them flop down on the couch, order some yakisoba from a nearby noodle store, and begin to chat. Mizuki begins talking about the newest projects they've been working on in fashion design, and Haruka talks about how her freelance streams are going, before they start talking about An. An tells him about how her first day at work goes, and then immediately the topic of Akito comes up. "Did you see him today?" Haruka asks innocently. "Oh my goodness! What if they have desks next to each other?" Mizuki giggles mischievously. "It's an office romance." "Yeah, I saw him," An confirms, causing Mizuki and Haruka's jaws to drop. "But not at work. Also, no, we don't sit next to each other." An ends up recounting how she ran into Akito on the way to class, and how they surprisingly ended up walking together to the campus, and how it surprisingly wasn't bad. "Aw, that's cute," Mizuki gushes. "Maybe you're less delusional than you thought." An smacks them with one of her throw pillows. "Shut up! We're barely even friends. I'd like for us to be friends, though." "That's sweet." Haruka smiles as the doorbell rings. "Oh, that must be your food." The rest of the night progresses relatively uneventfully. They enjoy their noodles, put on My Neighbor Totoro, and stay up until midnight before Mizuki and Haruka quietly bid their goodbyes. An tries to ignore the way the loneliness begins to eat at her mind as she tucks herself in. She says goodnight to herself and sleeps the night away. After the movie night with Mizuki and Haruka, the morning ends up being quite rough. An finds herself struggling to stay awake in her morning classes before she stops at Starbucks, grabs a cafe au lait, and heads over to write her labels for the rest of the day. As she enters the luxurious lobby of the building, Kohane isn't there to greet her, but instead a boy with two-toned blue hair. "Good afternoon," he greets her with a polite smile. "You must be An." "Yep," An nods as she clocks in. "Did Kohane tell you about me?" "Yep," the receptionist replies, popping the P. "I'm Touya, by the way. Nice to meet you, An." "Nice to meet you, too. You at Sekai University as well?" "Mm-hmm. Comp Sci," Touya replies.
You and Kohane are both such tryhards, An laughs, and Toya chuckles along as An continues. Well, I'll see you around. You too, Toya smiles, genuinely. Have a good one. Make it count. I sure will. An throws him a finger gun before the elevator dings as she steps in. On her way up to her floor, she can't help but reflect on the new people she's met. As a proud and true extrovert, An gravitates around other people and struggles when she's alone. Over the years, she's created the solar system of sorts, where she revolves around the people most important to her. Her dad and mom are in it, Haruka and Mizuki are in it, and others have come in and left as they pleased. An feels her heart thrum at the prospect of having new people in her solar system. Kohane was really cool, and Toya seemed pretty nice as well. And Akito, he was a bit of an unexplainable enigma to her. A little cold, a little awkward, but they seemed to finally start to get things on the right foot. She couldn't wait to, hopefully, one day, revolve around them as well.